ගරු සජින් වාස් ගුණවර්ධන මන්ත්‍රීතුමා ඔබතුමාට විනාඩි 8ක් තියෙනවා.
ගරු නියෝජ්‍ය කතානායකතුමනි, today the challenges faced by Sri Lanka in the arena of foreign policy are by far the most challenging time period in the history of our country. We fought a war that claimed thousands of lives, both military and civilian, over a gruesome period of spanning over 30 long years. We won the battle, we won the war, we won the people, and most of all, we won Sri Lanka. We won Sri Lanka back. Instead of now supporting the people of Sri Lanka for her development efforts and reconciliation process, the opposition today is on a witch hunt to topple the government by conniving with foreign forces. Let me go into a little detail as to what exactly transpired during the last visit to the United Kingdom by His Excellency the President. Honourable Deputy Speaker, I wish to bring to your notice an extremely dangerous trend that is developing in the United Kingdom and the rest of Europe, by and large in relation to the existence of the LTTE. It was only last week that HE the President visited the United Kingdom for an official program which consisted with the meeting of around 25 members of Parliament of the House of Commons, meeting with the Foreign Advisory Committee of the House of Commons, and also the much now debated address to the Oxford Union. The controversy that the media says, and now that the opposition is pointing fingers at, that exists around the cancellation of the Oxford Union address is a matter that needs to be cleared in its proper perspective. As the Honourable Deputy Speaker is quite aware, His Excellency the President addressed the Oxford Union early last year on the invitation of the then President of the Oxford Union. As perhaps most of the members would know, the term of the presidency of the Oxford Union changes every 3 months as per every term. This address was made during the height of the battle between the Sri Lankan Armed Forces and the LTTE. Even at that time, the LTTE and its supporters staged demonstrations and protests in Oxford on the same day. Simultaneously, when His Excellency was delivering his first speech to the Oxford Union, there were protests. A tight security was provided for the event, even to the extent by the security authorities providing helicopters for surveillance purposes. It was a much successful address by the President to a fully packed Union. For the first time in the history of the Oxford Union, a head of state was invited for the second time to address the Union. I quote from the letter signed by the President of the Oxford Union on the 1st of December 2010, Mr. James Kingston, and I quote, "As President of Sri Lanka, you would have given us the unique honour of being the only serving head of state to have twice visited the Union. As was the case in your previous visit, we were hoping to once again learn from you your views on the future of your country." Unquote. This, Honourable Deputy Speaker, was the view of the Oxford Union. The same letter further quotes, "While the Union maintains a deep commitment to the principles of free speech and debate, we also have a responsibility to those who lived and worked in the city of Oxford. The disruption and danger that residents and citizens would face is by far too great to justify hosting the speech. This is to say nothing of our members who similarly could be directly placed in danger should the expected protests turn violent." Unquote. Now, Honourable Deputy Speaker, this is the President of the Oxford Union, Mr. James Kingston, who in his letter to His Excellency the President Mahinda Rajapaksa is conveying. Now, Honourable Deputy Speaker, the President of the Oxford Union speaks of disruption. The President of the Oxford Union speaks of danger to the citizens. From whom is this disruption and danger? It is from the LTTE. This, Honourable Deputy Speaker, is the gravity of the situation. This is the gravity of the situation that is not properly understood by the likes of the Honourable Karu Jayasuriya and the Honourable Jala Jayawardena. Today, the LTTE has grown itself to a large-scale organization that has the power to disrupt and endanger civilians living in the United Kingdom. The city of Oxford, the University of Oxford, the Oxford Union has its time-lasting traditions with its existence all compromised. Let me reiterate, all compromised and dismissed by the threat posed by the LTTE. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I wish to further quote from the statement issued by the Oxford Union on the 2nd December 2010, which is published in their website, official website. The Union holds a politically neutral stance with regards to the speakers, and the decision was not made in relation to any aspect of Mr. Rajapaksa's political position, the policies of his administration, or any allegations against his government. As the President of Sri Lanka for the last 5 years, the Union felt that Mr. Rajapaksa would provide a unique insight into the political climate of the region in his speech, unquote. Therefore, Honorable Deputy Speaker, sir, it is evidently clear that the Oxford Union had to succumb to the threats and the sheer strength of the LTTE in not proceeding with the address. Today, the so-called transnational government purportedly established by the LTTE is indeed quite strong in the United Kingdom. It has spread its tentacles into the House of Commons, individual members of Parliament, and all other apparatus of Her Majesty's government in many forms in giving false information. The challenges facing us as a country today far exceeds the efforts that we have taken so far to mitigate these threats. It is my view, Honorable Speaker, sir, we have to now very aggressively launch a campaign to show to the world that the LTTE today has and is raising its ugly head once again to propagate terrorism in the world through this fictional transnational government. The United Kingdom must be wary of these facts. It is no secret that today the LTTE wields quite an influence in the respective constituencies that is represented by the many members of the House of Commons. And it has become evident through WikiLeaks that even the former British Secretary of Foreign Affairs spent 60% of his time on Sri Lanka for the want of votes. Honorable Deputy Speaker, this is a very grave situation once again. Here is a terrorist organization legally banned by the government of the United Kingdom, wielding so much power and influence so as to make the then Foreign Secretary David Miliband spend 60% of his time on Sri Lanka, working against Sri Lanka. We can see the influence of the power of what is left of the LTTE. Such is the magnitude of the threat to the sovereignty of Sri Lanka. Such are the challenges faced by us in the international arena today. It is in this environment that it is despicable to the least to see the likes of the Honorable Karu Jayasuriya wanting war crimes investigations in Sri Lanka. As the Honorable Sajith Premadasa, who I am very happy to see in the House today, has stated, the LTTE are the only perpetrators of war crimes in Sri Lanka. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I wish to quote from a statement made by the Honorable Karu Jayasuriya to the Island newspaper on the 5th December 2010. This is said in reference to President His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa. Quote, playing constantly to the sensibilities of its hawkish support base. Unquote. Hawkish support base. Who is he referring to? Honorable Member, who are you referring to? It is the polity of Sri Lanka. It is the very same people who voted in excess of 1.8 million votes for His Excellency the President, and over 60% of the people of this country. Are then the Sri Lankan polity hawkish? Are the general public of this country hawkish? If they want to protect their sovereignty, if they want to protect their country, their territorial integrity, are they hawkish? Is that the view of the UNP? It is evidently clear, Honorable Speaker, that the UNP today is on a path to destruct Sri Lanka and its hawkish polity, as per Honorable Karu Jayasuriya. It is not only the government that he has found fault with, but it is the people of Sri Lanka as well. It is in this context, sir, I'm concluding. It is in this context, sir, that we need to strengthen our Ministry of External Affairs and lend all the possible support to the Honorable G.L. Peiris, who is one of the most best suited to implement our policies and mitigate the threats that are before us. Finally, Honorable Deputy Speaker, I wish to conclude with an epigraph which I would like to quote from Sir Winston Churchill. In war, resolution. In defeat, defiance. In victory, magnanimity. And in peace, goodwill. Learn, Honorable Karu Jayasuriya, learn from the wise words of Sir Winston Churchill. Thank you.
Honorable Yoga Rajan.
I'm glad to speak.